Pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Yours truly, Coles Brown. Blessings and greetings to everyone. Here's the guest menu for today's show. Marrell Mo Carter of Fox 54 joins us again. He's going to be on the broadcast of Grambling State hosting Jackson State University. Also, we'll have the panel here. But for right now, here's what's trending. Southern University football opens conference play at Prairie View A&M University on the road. The conference opener. It is a must-win to get off to a good start in conference. We'll talk about that. SWAC women's and men's basketball predicted order of finish. We've got on the women's side and the men's side. Who is going to, by the prognosticators, who's going to finish number one? We'll give you the complete order. That's what's trending on the Coles Brown Show. We'll bring in the panel right now, and then I'm going to get into the recap of Southern University and Jackson State University, the final, 33-15. Good morning, Coach Pettaway. Good morning, Charles, and good afternoon to you, Wheeler.
Good afternoon.
Good morning. Good morning.
Well, let me get into it. And good morning to you all. I'm a straight shooter, and I'm brutally honest. Congratulations to Jackson State. They were the better team last Saturday. They dominated the line of scrimmage, both sides. Simply put, they were very physical at the point of attack. So, congratulations to JSU. 5th straight win in the series. Southern won 8 straight. Now Jackson State, 5 straight wins. The biggest question is, a lady in the store asked me, will the streak become 8 in a row? I couldn't tell her right now. And also this lady said, do you think, because you have, and she did Google Carlos Brown, and 2-year contract came up. And, I was shocked. I'm like, wow. How would this lady even tell that to me? She was a sweet lady, but I said, no. I said, no, that's not going to happen. But she was extremely disappointed. And I would say the same thing. It was a disappointing game for Southern University, a raucous crowd. And once again, kudos to Jackson State. Now, for Southern University, another slow start offensively. The 3rd game in a row. A slow start offensively. 21 yards rushing. And don't tell me about, they add in quarterback sacks. I know that, but from the point of attack, 21 yards rushing. We've got a sample size, as A.D. Wheeler Brown told me before the show. The O-line is just not getting the job done now. They're just not. The defense had their first bad night, and Coach Graves said he thought maybe they had been reading their clippings in the newspaper, social media, smelling themselves. That's not the same defense I saw from game 1 and game 2. But once again, credit to Jackson State offensive line. They took that challenge on, and they read social media. They see that this Southern's defense had been lights out, and they accepted the challenge. Against 2 FCS opponents, McNeese, 66 yards rushing, and Jackson State, 21. My universal math says that's 87 yards. Now, you divide that by 2. That's 40-something yards. That's just not going to cut it. And Coach Graves, to his point, he says, I'm the head coach. I'm responsible for this slow start, and I've got to be better and get my coaches better. Get this team off to a fast start. And guess what? They're going to need it tonight. 6 p.m. at ESPN Plus against Prairie View. Because Prairie View already has one conference loss. If they lose tonight, they're 0-2, and they're behind the 8 ball. With that being said, guys, your comments. I kind of got that off my chest.
Go ahead, Charles.
I had Southern to win this game last week, so I got to eat a little crow here on this Saturday from Lake Charles. I had the Jaguars going to Jackson, backs against the wall, playing in a hostile environment, and those are the kind of games I thought Southern would rise up, and they didn't. I was very disappointed. I'm sure the Jaguar Nation, I guess disappointed is probably a mild word. I'm sure there's probably anger, there's frustration. And of course, Carlos, I said this on this show several weeks ago, when it comes to the fan bases, the Jaguar Nation is one bad SWAC loss away from saying it's time to clean house. Everybody from the chancellor to the janitor, time to clean house. And they said that. There were some people, one in particular that went live after the game last week. They said it shouldn't be a surprise. We hadn't been this competitive in a long time, and there are people out there that are saying that to this day. But that being said, you got to get off to a better start. You had a freshman quarterback last week that did well against Savannah. Don't know what's going to happen today, but you got a Prairie View team that's desperate. They're already behind the 8 ball. They lost to Texas Southern. They got Grambling next week. Prairie View could be done in the next 7 days and 12 hours if they don't win today and if they don't beat Grambling next week. It's over. You might as well stick a fork in that. So Prairie View is going to be a desperate, hungry team. They're at home. And Southern has played well at Prairie View at times. So Southern's got to come out with a sense of urgency. And if they don't, you can't let this Jackson loss beat you twice. And so Southern's got to wake up, rise up, start fast, play well. And if they do, they'll have a shot. If not, the anger, the frustration, the venom's going to continue. But I was disappointed because I thought it would be a better effort than that, all the way around. And in this series, like you said, 5 in a row, whatever it is, some of those games have not been competitive. And when you lose to your rival, that's one thing. If you lose, walk-off field goal, that's one thing. But when you don't play well at all, that just angers people even more in these rivalry games. So Southern better wake up. It's not going to get any easy. It's not going to get any easier. And Coach Graves has got to figure out a way to motivate, put this loss last week behind them, and get ready for a Prairie View team that's desperate, because I think that's the appropriate word when you're looking at the Panthers right now.
Coach
Right.
Pettaway?
Well, Charles, I'm one of the people that I picked Jackson State last week, and I felt like it would be a closer game. Now, I think I only said they'd win by 3. And I did that because offensively, I just didn't see where Southern was putting the points on the board and where they were controlling the football. So I had it with a rival game. I felt that Jackson State would play with a little bit more fire because they were at home. And so that's the reason, that was part of the reason why I picked them by 3, Jackson State by 3. But Southern's, this just one game. That's just one game, even though it's a rival game. Their season will not be defined by just that one game. So what they got to have short-term memory and get about last week, get ready to beat Prairie View. Because like Charles said, Prairie View is going to come into that game knowing that they got to have a win. And so Coach Graves he's got to rally the troops and have them ready. And I think he will.
See, you can tell Coach Pettaway is a coach. That mindset, Wheeler. And let me say this before your comments. You look at the total yards. Guess who had the most yards? Southern University, 416 to 399. But Jackson State had 201 yards rushing. Southern 21. And a lot of the offensive explosion came in the second half. Thus, off to another slow start. And, of course, Cesarian T-Set was injured. And guess who came in and threw for over 300 yards?
Noah Bolton.
It's Noah Bolton. So sometimes the statistical story doesn't tell it. Now, I peeped in the chat room. Oh, the recruiting is a big difference, with the talent. I'll say this in my opinion. I don't think it's a big difference in talent. I just think TC Taylor and his staff had an excellent game plan, and they came out and they challenged their players to meet the moment. But Willer,
there's an old adage out
Mhm.
there that says it's easier to play when you're 20 down than when you are 20 up. So I kind of use that as the reason why Southern was able to kind of get back in the game in the second half, or at
Mhm.
least start to do better. Because it almost seemed like the shackles were off. Everybody's kind of expecting us to drop this game now, that sort of thing. We can relax and play football. Yeah. Your quarterback came in off the bench, who had been benched. And, he was carefree, fancy free. He just let it go. Now he's got to bring that same attitude
Mhm.
this week that he brought last week. Yeah, if I'm Coach Graves, and I'm not Coach Graves, but I had to have had a coming to Jesus meeting with my offensive staff. We have to collectively find out exactly what's going on. We have enough of a sample size now, to where we should be able to evaluate everybody and be able to realistically evaluate everybody and find out who we need to replace, who we need to put where, that sort of thing. And then we
Mhm.
about the business of going and doing that as expeditiously as possible. But Coach Graves need to put foot in his assistant coaches, okay, on that side of the ball, and letting them know, pretty much what has transpired is unacceptable. It's not Southern football. I'm expecting a whole lot more from this side of the ball. What is it that we need to do? What is it that I can do to help? And, you better believe if I'm him, I have hovered over on the offensive side of the ball pretty much all this past practice week.
Mhm.
And I'm expecting to see some positive changes moving forward, and then we just go on and roll from there, you know.
Mhm.
But, I picked Jackson State last week. I thought it would be a closer game, no doubt about that. And so the distance, the greatness of the score kind of surprised me a little bit.
Yeah.
But when you got a ham bone down, you grind on it and you keep it rolling, that sort of thing. So, Dooley's at Prairie View now, if I'm not mistaken. Am I correct?
No, a
The
Grambling.
Grambling.
Oh, he's at Grant. Okay, okay. Well, that's a relief. Don't have to worry about him and his vendetta on the offensive side of the ball for a little bit more time yet. But you just got to go out there and get it done. So, while I would not be pushing the panic button externally, internally, I would voice some concern, in terms of the way that we're playing and, that sort of thing. And internally, I would be looking for my coaching staff to let me know what's going on, how we're going to rectify this, how we're going to take care of this, gentlemen, how we're going to get this ship upright and get it moving in the right direction.
Well, Will, I think I agree with you 100%. That must be I think that's a first. That's a first. And, you know, the O-line play, it doesn't matter who is at quarterback if that doesn't get straightened out prior to number one. And I would make changes. When the game at 6 p.m., I'm going to look and see if they're still going with the same O-line or there some changes being made. Then also, I agree with you. Coming to Jesus meeting. on the offensive side, and Coach Gray's a defensive guy, but it is apparent that you're going to have to get more involved. And, I've heard everything from play calling, they question that, the O-line play, and quarterback play. It has to be fixed because this is a big game at 6 p.m. today for Southern University. And as we said earlier, Prairie View is in a desperate mode. They don't want to go 0-2. Although, Charles, the way it looks now in the West, and it's completely up for grabs. I think the chat room and everybody involved will agree. 2 losses doesn't necessarily put you out, I don't believe. In the West, I don't think there's a team that has shown just a sample size. And when we get into the first week of October, then we can look back at the whole month of September. Is there a dominant team? Alcorn was picked to come out of the West. Alabama State out of the East. But in the West, I just think the picture is not clear at all. It's more clearer in the Eastern Division. Jackson State, FAMU, and Alabama State, albeit Alabama State, their defense is outstanding. But once again, they have offensive issues. Wow. We can say that a lot in this conference. It's been some inconsistency.
I'm gonna beg to differ on that one. While 0-2 in the West may not put you in a sad state and of the standings, it is going to put you in a sad state mentally. And that's just as bad, because you don't want to go down, 2. Then even if you win it all, you feel like you're backing in the door, that sort of thing and stuff. You got to get this. You got to get this thing right. You got to get this thing right. The time is now. And, while you don't want to go 0-2, if you are 0-2, I'm pushing. I got to push some buttons. I got.
Will, are you pushing the panic button?
I'm pushing an internal panic button.
Okay.
I'm not gonna push it externally. My fans and my base won't see the way that I'm truly feeling. But inside, in that locker room, in that coach's room, I'm not only am I pushing the button, I got both feet on it. I'm squatting 400 pounds, the whole 9 yards.
Well, Carlos, I agree to a certain extent. When you go 0-2 in the conference, that's one thing. But when you go 0-2 in your own division, that's another thing. And Prairie View has another Western Division game next week against Grambling. So if Prairie View doesn't win today, they're 0-2. They're 0-2 in their own division. So now any tie breaks, you lose out on any head up. You got to finish ahead of these teams. And it's out of your control. Right now, it's out of Prairie View's control now. Now, albeit Texas Southern is the team. You don't know what TSU is going to do. But if TSU gets hot, and even though you may get hot, you have to finish ahead of Texas Southern right now. So if Prairie View loses today, they're behind 2. Really, they're behind 3. So now you're behind Southern in a tie break. You're behind Texas Southern in a tie break. I don't think Prairie View's going to beat Grambling next week. And so you're 3 out at the end of September, 3 Western Division losses. Come on. You need a whole lot of help. And even if you get hot, you got to hope some other things that are going to happen that are totally out of your control. And you're probably going to run out of games and it's not going to matter. So for Prairie View, this desperation time, that loss to Texas Southern really set them back. Now, for Prairie View, which team's going to show up? Is it going to be the one that beat Northwestern State? Or is it going to be the one that didn't show up against Texas Southern?
It's going to be a desperate team.
Which team's going to show up with Southern tonight? Is it going to be the one that found some rhythm against Savannah? I'm here in Lake Charles, and there we're talking about that Southern game, how Southern had them on the ropes. And so the fourth quarter, special teams, some things went sideways, and so is the Southern team going to show up today that gave McNeese heck for 3 quarters? Or are you going to have a team that, like you said, didn't have a running game, offensive line. If those things continue and you got a desperate Prairie View team, you're on the road at Panther Stadium, Southern's got to get that stuff fixed, and it's got to get fixed now. So I think for Prairie View, it's desperation time right now. I think what hurts is the fact that you're 3 weeks into the season, 4 weeks, whatever it is, and you're talking about this. But that's where you are if you're Prairie View at this point in time, in my opinion.
Well, but you know what? If there's a silver lining in this today, if Jaguar Nation has not given up on Southern, there's a good chance that they'll have more people in the stands than PV. So it won't be a real home court advantage. No, I'm serious. So if you look at attendance, I'm serious now. If you look at attendance, they have not drawn well, and so if the people in Texas are not coming out to support PV, that helps Southern. If Jag Nation is following, the team like they normally do, so those guys will hear some friendly voices and they'll have people supporting them. So I think that will help. And I promise you, I think Coach Graves is going to have them ready to play.
Coach Pettaway, my belief. A whole lot of stands to fill up. Ain't a whole lot of stands to fill up at Prairie View. So no reason why Southern shouldn't dominate that aspect of the game.
and Southern's had success in Prairie View.
Right.
I have a friend who lives in Houston. He's a Southern alum, and every game that he's went to at Prairie View, when Southern's come there, he hasn't seen a loss. Right. But now that's in the past. Back to this division, I think it's up for grabs. I understand the scenario for Prairie View. I stated that they're going to be desperate. Southern University, which team shows up? And the Savannah State, it is what it is. I can't use that as a sample size. I look at the two FCS opponents, and as I've stated, offensively, they struggled. Some people were shocked that the defense had a bad night, and they did. Because you look, and Charles, you talked about the McNeese game. If it wasn't for those two special team disasters, Southern shuts out McNeese. Now, right. McNeese defensive is pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll find that out tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have an offense that, look, your quarterback, you're still trying to find out who your quarterback is and stuff. And remember one name, Davey, at linebacker.
Yeah, Micah Davies.
Yeah. And his dad is Rohan Davies, so he comes from good stock. But I think
Carlos.
And then we'll get wait a minute. Well, I'm trying to finish my wait a minute. I'll give you time to respond. It's more about Southern University getting better. They got to look at winning the week now. They can't look for 3 or 4 weeks ahead of time. Their focus got to be tonight. Now, we'll come back next Saturday, and if Southern has a loss, then the flames will grow even wider. I'm still behind Coach Graves. Look, anybody who's the coach, I'm behind them until otherwise. Does Southern have some things to work on? Yes, they do. They really do. So let's see. When adversity has hit you, Wheeler, let's see how Southern University responds. I remember a few years ago, Southern was hung out to dry, and it was another coach who Charles Edmonds loved. And they went to Prairie View and won 38-0. Mm-hmm. People were ready to get the noose ready, but it didn't happen. And then they went on to go to the SWAC championship game, and of course, his Achilles heel couldn't beat Alcorn. But otherwise, when adversity hits, now, Willa, let's see. Let's see if these players can respond, and this coaching staff as well, because we're all a team. We're in it to the end.
Somebody in the chat room had made a statement saying that Southern's offensive line was big but not physical. And that is how I would characterize it. I was trying to look for the right verbiage. But that's how I would characterize Southern's offensive line. They are big, got good size, but they're not physical. And, the physicalness comes from practice. Nobody hits anymore. And I think I've said this on previous shows, that sort of thing. Nobody hits anymore, and now it's even transferred down to the offensive and defensive lines. There was a time when if nobody in practice hit on a daily basis, the offensive and defensive linemen were locking horns every day. But now it just seems like they've gone the way of the running back and the quarterback. They might well put on a little pink jerseys that your skill folk put on, because ain't nothing going on. And from a line point of view, if you're not knocking heads every day, Carlos, you ain't getting better. You can't get better just taking your steps and sticking your hands out there and all that sort of thing. You got to lock it down.
You're old school, Wheeler.
Oh, yeah, but he's right. I agree.
And we're missing that overall now with this new modern, I don't know, you guys want to call it modern or what have you, with this modern football. We're so afraid somebody going to get hurt or what have you. But when you're going full speed, when you're locking horns on a regular basis, it's that much less likely you are going to get hurt, than if you're out there just love tapping and all that sort of thing. So I just wanted to add that.
Well, valid points. And Wheeler, let me ask you this. You're a former offensive lineman in college. Zone blocking versus mano.
I've never been a zone blocking advocate, so to speak. Your job as an offensive lineman is to create a new line of scrimmage on each and every play.
Come on.
You're not getting the job done. Period.
Coach Pettaway.
Hey, I'm old school.
Man, for basketball.
You don't skip it. And see, Wheeler talking about them pink jerseys. See, I call it the nurse's station. If you're not a man, you don't want to be on that floor, get your butt over there in that nurse's station. That's all you can do for her. Be a nurse. Be on the sideline. But no, I'm serious. And with the new protocols in football and stuff, they've taken a lot of the physicality out of practices. And so it's hard for those kids to just turn it on in the game because they're not used to it in practice every day. And so that can be an issue. That's just like some coaches in basketball. They don't play hard, practice hard during the middle of the week. So when it comes to the weekend, the teams are not as sharp. I've always believed in from beginning of the season to about the middle of January, you push the accelerator. Then as you get late into the year, you start backing off so that you can save their bodies and their legs. But in football, man, if you're not physical in practice, it's hard. It's hard to just turn it on in the game. So I think that might be part of the problem. I don't know their practice schedule, but I'm in the mind of a coach. I really feel like Coach Graves and his staff have gotten into that lab and they figured out what was wrong and what they need to work on. And I just think you all are going to see a different ball team tonight against Prairie View.
Coach, I got two quick points.
Wait a minute. Let me do this. We need to go to a timeout. We're overdue.
Okay, go. Go ahead.
Because producer extraordinaire Melanie, she's going to get on me. It's
okay, go ahead. We're good.
Practice. So we'll take a timeout. When we come back, it'll be more of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. We shall return.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
That's an excellent piece. Welcome back to the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Had a chance to peek into the chat room. Valid points, as I just text. I'm looking at everyone's discussion. The good doctors in there, Dr. Cavill, a Prairie View A&M alum, who brought up, hey, 9-8, I guess, in the last 17 games. But again, a rivalry is just that. It's back and forth. If it's one-sided, Charles, to me, it's not the true essence of a rivalry. I also talk about the offensive line play. Willa, they're agreeing with you. That old physical mano-mano, man-on-man blocking schemes. And I still maybe I'll have to go back to school and look at this zone blocking versus – the old school way of blocking. Coach Pettaway, if it's the concept is something like in basketball, a zone defense, you play an area versus man-on-man defense, 94-foot, I'll have to go to remedial class for that with the zone blocking versus blocking the traditional way. 17 of 29, 352 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. That was Noah Bolden. Now, normally, that would be outstanding. Over 50% of his passes. So, the question would be, can they meaning Southern, get off to a good start today? It's crucial, in my opinion. You don't want to fall into that same old, where you're starting off slow. Last week it was 23-3 at half. Basically, from what you saw in that first half, you were confident the game was over. And it literally was. 18 points, some would say the score wasn't indicative in the stats of how lopsided it was. But it was interesting. Coach Graves said on the defensive side that he thought they were smelling themselves. They had been reading all of the social media, and they didn't come out to play. But again, give credit to Jackson State. In my opinion, they got it done. Now, this Prairie View team last year, 27-21 in Baton Rouge, they defeated Southern University. You had Coach Dooley as the head coach then. Now, going into Prairie View, the offensive coordinator is Coach Fredericks. Previously at Prairie View, a number of years with Dooley, came over to Southern University. Panel, do you think he's feeling some type of way? Because he's going back to Prairie View, where he's been for several years. Should we expect to see the best offensive scheme and play calling, albeit the offensive line has struggled? Does he put his best foot forward coming into this ball game tonight against Prairie View?
I don't think so. I mean, I think, he'll prepare them like he normally has prepared them. Unless he applied for the Southern job and Coach Banks overlooked them or what have you, something like that. I don't really think he has an axe to grind. So I think he'll just line it up and bring it. I will say this though, Coach Graves is a first-time head coach. Okay, I like Coach Graves. I like his mannerisms. I like the way that he does it, goes about business, that sort of thing. I'm a big Coach Graves fan. There's no doubt about that at all. But he has to be mindful, okay, because this is his first time in that main seat, as Coach Pettaway likes to say. He has moved 18 inches over now.
Yeah.
Okay.
18 inches.
And that means that there's a whole new attitude that comes along with that.
Yep.
And if I'm the AD, I'm making sure that Coach Graves knows that I'm in his corner 1,000%, no doubt about that. But that he's going to have to turn that corner in terms of being the head coach, in terms of his relationship with his assistant coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully he's to the point where he feels good about criticizing them and letting them know, where they're coming up short, that sort of thing. And ain't nobody taking it personally, all that kind of stuff. And hopefully they're not looking at him like, well, I mean, man, you was just over here with us 10 months ago.
Well, it's business now, Wheeler.
Get brand new on a brother or what, But I believe Coach Graves has what it takes in order to cross that line. Okay, from an AD's point of view, he and I would have that conversation to make sure that, he knows that I know that he knows that I know, that sometimes you got to cross that line, with your assistant coaches and keep it moving. It ain't personal,
It's business.
I'm expecting X, Y, and Z. Let's go out here. Let's get it done, and then let's keep it moving forward.
Well, Carlos, I can give you an example of that. For Cedric Thomas, this is the second time he's been a head coach. He was at UAPB for one season, and we had a situation last week in which Coach Thomas talked to his offensive coordinator, Jermaine Gales, who told me in the offseason that he was going to coach from the sidelines. Some coordinators in the box, some are on the sideline. Mm-hmm. He coaches from the sideline, but Coach Thomas brought up something at halftime of the game against Edward Waters, and he said, Coach, I think you need to go up in the box and to see it from that vantage point. And Coach Gales was in the box to begin the second half. And I've seen his assistant coaches talk about Coach Thomas rally on the field, during in between one of the periods they gather together, and Coach Thomas, provides feedback. And so, to Coach, to Wheeler Brown's point, the head coach makes those adjustments, and you have assistants that listen and kind of take their charge from the head coach. I think sometimes those adjustments are made on the fly. So I think, from that perspective, when you've got a new coach, we got a first-year head coach, sometimes things change. You got to make those adjustments on the fly. And to Wheeler Brown's point, sometimes those adjustments come quickly, and sometimes they may not be comfortable, but they're in the best interest of the team.
Coach Pettaway, it's business.
Right. Well,
it's never personal.
Right. That's right. That's right. And as the head coach, you got to be strong enough to make those decisions. You got to be strong enough to let those guys know, hey, we are in this together, but men, we got to do better. We got to come together. We got to do better. And I honestly think that Coach Graves is doing that. I'm like Wheeler. I'm a big Coach Graves fan, man. I think he'll get it done. He'll get it turned around. And now I'm gonna go back and say it once again. One game does not make a season. That's just one game. As long as we're learning from this and we're able to take something away from that loss that can help us tonight, that's the attitude that they have to have.
And look, and I get it. I get it.
Shut up. I'll say this and I'll be quiet. I let guys know the ass in the sling is mine.
Yeah.
At the end of it, let's make no bones about it. Let's be up front. Let's be frank. At the end of the day, it's my butt that's getting chewed out. I'm the one that's held responsible. That sort of thing. You know what they say about feces that rolls down.
Downhill. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
We keep it moving from there.
Very interesting and valid point. Thus, and I think I sent you guys a text message during the week. When Coach Graves got up there and he took it. He said, it's my fault. I gotta get this team and coaching staff to do better. And that's kind of refreshing in a way, because sometimes it's easy to pass the buck. Well, this happened. This guy didn't do this. This team, this unit didn't play well. It stops with me.
Right.
And that's the way you look at it.
Well, Carlos, you asked the question, is your OC going to do anything differently because he was at Prairie View and all that? I think that this is a game he knows he has to have. I think personally, yeah, there's going to be some feelings there. When you're coaching at another institution and you're playing that institution, you know there are feelings there. That's just human nature. But I think the desperation that Southern has in terms of getting that offense going, he knows he's got to get the offense going early and often. And if he does that, then I think the fans will be a little happier. But, I think, for Southern, they got to get it going. We talked about it in off season. Until these teams find continuity on offense, it's the defense that's going to have to carry things. And I think Southern's defense was pretty good coming in. And did we expect these hiccups offensively? I didn't see it. You got a freshman quarterback. It's always push and a pull. But speaking of that, Carlos, is your quarterback healthy? Is he going to play this week? He's out.
Okay. Bowden, Noah gets the start, and a young man that I had on the show, Jalen Woods. I just fell in love with that young man when he came on the show. If y'all remember, out of Atlanta, and so he will be the backup. He said, Coach Graves told me that the X-rays were negative. It was just a ankle sprain, a very deep one. Now, if it's a high ankle sprain, Coach Pettaway, that could linger on for a while. But for Coach Frederick, I think he needs to come out and he needs some kind of way to jumpstart this offense. Another slow start won't be good at all. Now, again, I expect some changes in the offensive line. I talked to Wheeler before the show. I expect those changes. You got to give some others a shot. If you look at the first unit, as a unit, they haven't gotten the job done. So I think now's the point where you kind of doing practice this week, set some things in motion. You've got to get off to a good start. Prairie View and Southern University, 6 p.m. on ESPN Plus. Look at the Jackson State fans say they're going to be watching to see if there's any progress with Southern University offensive line. But the panel, you look at it. That stat I gave, 66 yards rushing, and then 21 last week. You can't look. I'm sorry, Willa. It has to be changed in the offensive line. Because if that's the unit I decided that they were the best and they're not doing well, Coach Pettaway, my point guard is not getting it done. I got to substitute it. And so we'll see. And then the other question, can the defense – I'm still high on that defense. They had an off night. I'm sorry. But can they come back? Will we see that defense that we saw in week 1 and week 2? Will we see that defense tonight? Once again, Prairie View, they're going to be in a desperate mode, but Southern's in the mode of we're better than what we've shown. Can we be better?
Yep.
Next week, my expression will tell it all when you see me. If I have a sour look or mad look, it didn't go well. But I'm with my Jaguars to the end. And that's the way I look at it.
I would even say, Carlos, that the Jaguars need to be desperate. I would go that far a little bit. I mean, based on the stench from last week's game, and Jaguar fans still talking about that. That game should be in the rearview mirror, but for some fans, it's not. It's just not. And so you got to come out and play desperate yourself. You're on the road. It's not going to get any easier. You got a quarterback that's banged up. You got to come out and make a statement here today in a game in a place in which you've had success, Panther Stadium, even though, Dr. Paville put the stats up in terms of what the record has been, between the two teams in the past. But someone's got to come out and make the first 4 or 5 statements in this game and put this puppy to bed early and show the Jaguar Nation that they're kind of back on track. They can't play around with it. They got to start fast and go fast for 60 minutes.
And Charles, you got to take it one. What is the saying? You got to win the week.
Right.
I can't look to an off week next week and then a Nickel State team that comes in that's going to be strong. You've got to win the week. You got to get better every week, every practice. And if it doesn't go at the end of the season the way you expect it, then what is my saying, Coach Pettaway? You have that exploratory surgery. You open up the body and you look at what needs to be taken out, and then you sew the body back up, and then you go. But that's still a long way down the road. Pat Riley, don't text me. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. So win the week, win the quarter, win the game. That's what you need. That's what you need if you're Southern University. And look, guys, I get it. Southern University fan base, I love them to death. Not everybody can work at Southern University as far as from the fan expectation, but I get it. You lost to one of your heated rivals. And then it's time 5. How the fan base feel. Now, if they'd have won that game against Jackson State, they'd have felt much better, of course. But then, Coach Pettaway, they still would have some people that would not be satisfied.
Oh, yeah.
And if they win tonight, you're still going to have a segment that's not going to be satisfied because that taste is still in their mouth. I get it. It's Jackson State. It's Grambling if you lose. It's magnified. Because Pettaway, it's like if you lost to Alabama State.
Yep.
You probably don't check your email. You don't answer phone calls, text messages.
Had a doggone moving van in front of your house.
So in hour number 2, Coach Pettaway, we're going to get into some basketball talk. The predicted order of finishes is out. Just a brief analysis. Grambling State, if I'm not mistaken, on what? Both the men's and the women's side. Pick number 1. Southern University, 2 and 3. Second on the women's side, man. I can't really disagree with that. I really can't. What you think, Coach Pettaway?
Well, I think it's a good choice on the men's side. On the women's side, I'm not sure about Grambling, but I think they got enough coming back to where that's the reason why everybody picked them. Now some of their choices for player of the year and stuff like that, I really like the way they broke down the all conference preseason all conference stuff. But I think it's going to be an exciting year in basketball, and I think everybody's excited about going to Atlanta for the tournament. You know, taking 10 teams and 12 next year. So I think they're off to a good start. The only drawback I saw on it yesterday. I watched both days, and they say you had to raise your hand, Charles. I raised my hand both days, but evidently it's not working. Mine, I'm serious. It didn't work. I couldn't get my hand up. And so I just sat and listened. But I think they're doing a great job after being in Birmingham for all those years and then now exploring with Atlanta. I think it's great. You're talking about Atlanta, we're a place where you got tons of HBCU graduates, and we're just going to see if they're going to come out and support.
Coach Pettaway, I got a question. So who would you have had number 1 on the women's side?
I probably would have went it with Southern because I probably would have. I would have gone with Southern on the women's side.
You just gave us a kiss of death.
Yep. But they might as well. They was on. Everybody else picked them second. They would have just been first for me. I would have reversed the top 2. And then they have a lot of faith in Coach Thornton now. Her first year at Alabama A&M, and she's ranked 3rd. Come on, man. That's a lot.
Oh, boy. And,
that's a lot.
I did see the media broadcast on the Black College Sports Network. And guess what? Coach Funches, they asked the question, you have nobody on the first or second team, player-wise.
Right.
And they would pick second. That's why I love to compare and contrast.
Yeah.
Compare what happens in the preseason predictions and then to see how it plays out.
Oh, right. See the results. See, no game or championship is won in the preseason, in the predictions rather. They're not won in the prediction. They're won when you actually play and compete. So we'll just see.
Well, guys, I had a 30-minute conversation with one of our fans, 30 minutes about this new SWAC scheduling, this Thursday, Saturday, Monday schedule. And it took me 30 minutes to help them understand, and I don't think they still understood what it means.
Wow, Charles.
Yeah, and I think we need to hit on it as we get closer to SWAC play because it's going to be confusing to a lot of people. The bottom line is the women play on Thursdays and Saturdays. The men still play on Saturdays and Mondays, but on Saturday you got a men and women doubleheader. But it's still confusing to a lot of people. So I think that's the one thing that, I know we're still a ways away from SWAC, but we're going to have to, hit on it and kind of explain to people what that means because a lot of people probably don't know what the scheduling is. And we talked about it. 10 teams are in instead of 12 this year. And then next year, all 12 will be in. So I think that we're going to have to kind of hit on that as we get closer to SWAC because a lot of people don't know. A lot of people are scratching their heads. And I was on the phone for 30 minutes trying to break it down, in terms of what this means. And, in terms of you're going to games 3 days instead of 2. So that's something that we'll have to kind of deal with as we get closer to SWAC.
Well, let me throw this out to the chat room. You heard what Charles said. Are you finding it difficult to follow the new conference play? Charles, just with how you explained it to me, I understood it. I really did. Now, Charles, was this an Alcorn State fan? You were talking to? Okay.
Yeah. And well, I will say for full
let me not take a
transparency,
shot there.
this was an older person that
Okay.
Okay. And so you understand that. I mean, we're so used to Saturday, Mondays. And so I get it. But I think for a lot of our fans, it's going to take getting used to, in terms of ponying up dollars. And Wheeler Brown's always talking about dollars. Now you got to pony up dollars for 3 days, Thursday, Saturday, and Monday, as compared to Saturday, Monday. And so that's something that's something we'll have to just kind of dig into. And even for me, just trying to wrap my brain around it, you're playing Bethune-Cookman women only on a Thursday, then FAMU on Saturday, men and women, and then Bethune-Cookman men on a Monday. And so I'm still trying to wrap my brain around it. I'm getting it a little bit, but I think fans are going to be the ones that are going to be wondering how this thing's going to work.
I'm wondering how those expenses going to turn out.
I knew you were going to say that, Willa. I knew you were going to say that.
Like to see that. Especially, let's say a hot squad, men-wise, that if you had that double header, it would be pretty much a sellout crowd or what have you. But, now they're just playing the women alone on that open day, and the women aren't that good. The men's team is not there to kind of bring up the slack and keep interest in it overall. How's that going to affect the bottom line, especially when you got to start paying janitors and concession people and people to collect money at the door and all that sort of thing and stuff. So I'd like to see the expenses to the revenue side of things to see how that's going to work out overall.
I talked to our chief of security, Wheeler Brown. Our chief of security had explained the new format to him. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, Chief, you're going to have security at the Whitney Arena on Thursdays, Saturdays, and Mondays. Mm-hmm. And he said, wow. And so he's got to wrap his brain around that. Yeah. So it is going to take getting some used to. There's no doubt about that. I talk with our men's assistant coaches. We are actually in Daytona the weekend of the Daytona 500.
Wow.
And rooms are $800 a night in and around Daytona. We're staying somewhere in Orlando somewhere. So, every other year it seems like we're in Daytona when they have the 24 hours of Daytona 500. It's always a challenge when we go down there. For some reason, we just happen to hit it. The schedule just don't work out with that. But those are some of the things, as far as, logistics and travel. I guess for the women, to me, I think it'll help them. But even though they're going to miss some class time because they're playing on Thursdays and Saturdays as compared to Saturdays and Mondays. So I don't know, Wheeler, the cost. Don't know in terms of class time missed. Is it a wash compared to what you've had in the past? I think that's going to be an interesting dynamic for our women's coaches.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then on that vein of money, Wheeler, you're going to love this. Did you hear Coach Williams from Jackson State say that he almost hit the $1 million mark on game guarantees this year? He landed at about $950,000 in game guarantees. Jackson State men's basketball. And Wheeler, I thought about you. I said, man, Wheeler would be smiling. He would be smiling and shaking your hand.
Ear to ear.
I'm mad.
Ashley Robinson planted a seed on that one, Carlos. Ashley Robinson said, look, man, you if you want all this and that, you're going to have to go out and get it. And so I am not surprised. I haven't seen their schedule. He probably has North Carolina, Massachusetts. Hey, you know the top teams that are paying the good money, the Kansases, the Kentuckys, the Oklahomas of the world. You know what those teams are paying. And if you get $1 million, that means you got probably 4 or 5 of those top tier high-paying programs on your schedule on the road. So
wake me up when this is over.
Oh my
goodness!
What he has done is get his name off the hot seat.
There you go. Well, look, hey, Carlos.
I'm gonna be in the stand with a sign saying, "Are you excited that a team is 1-11?" and then you expect with the changes, and then you expect people to come in and be excited. I gotta have some some wins. I got to have some. I understand you got to have on the contract X amount of dollars, but you know what? We're paying the ADs
That's a tough
good
one.
salary. We're paying them a good salary. Come on now.
That's
Don't take the easy way out.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. I don't know that I would have, as much as I'm fond of the dollar bill. Don't get me wrong. You know, I don't believe I would have allowed him to play all that many, guaranteed. He'd have a healthy mix, no doubt about that.
Coach Pettaway, we're gonna have to go fishing and talk about
yes,
this.
But
You know what? I will say this: Will has admitted to kind of balance that off. But again, the street committee and stuff. I'm in the arena with a sign. How can I get excited? and I get it. Athletes want to play against the best, but once again, they're asking to shoulder too much of the load playing those guaranteed games. But anyway.
But Carlos, after you come back from break, I'm gonna tell you something else about this schedule that's gonna blow your mind.
I happen to look at Southern's schedule, and we appreciate Coach Johnson coming on, but a lot of times, I guess the coaches have input somewhat, but the strong arm, the strong hand of the ADs, they kind of force the hand there. It's like in poker, it's either this or it'll be that.
I don't know how it is now, Carlos, but back in the day, I do know this working with previous ADs at Alcorn. Previous coaches have told me at Alcorn that their ADs at the time told them what they pretty much need to bring in. Like, look, we need you to bring in $750,000.
Make it happen. Make it happen.
I don't know if that's still the case today or not. And if Mo Williams is bringing in $1 million, I'm sure there's a little bit of nudging, like, hey, from Ashley Robinson, hey, you want the big shiny tools? You're gonna have to go out there and get it. And I think that's probably the case in that situation, because Jackson's got all the pieces. They had a kid Ruffin that was injured. They got a lot of good kids. They got a good team. I think this is the year that Mo Williams got to make that step. And so I think he's got to have a good team. He's got to bring in some good guarantee money. And so I'm not surprised at all. I think you're going to see more and more SWAC men's teams bring in close to $1 million. First of all, these basketball teams are paying more money, and they're going to expect more. Like, you're not going to crank up the bus to get UAPB for under 75. I'm sure some of these coaches will probably tell you that. Like, I ain't cranking up the bus for under 75 or 80. So if you get 5 or 6 of those games, that's $480,000 right there on some of those games. That's about a half dozen.
Wait a minute, UAPB demands $75,000.
I'm just using it as an example, but there are coaches that have told me that said, I'm not cranking up the bus for under 70.
I don't blame them at all.
Sit right there. The more, the better that don't go and make all those guarantees. But Willa, I'm throwing it back on the ADs.
I'm gonna tell you, back in 2005, I was riding on the bus with our men's team somewhere. I can't remember exactly when, at A&T. And when we came out in order to get on the bus to come back to Greensboro, the folk where we were putting a big screen TV underneath the bus. Our men's basketball coach had included that in terms of part.
Yep.
Okay, we're talking like a 65-inch TV, what have you, that sort of thing. They were sliding that thing up underneath the bus. So I had nothing to say at all. Work it, coach, work it. Do what
we got a shooting machine, Carlos, based on one of our games. This has been a long time ago when Sam West, I believe, was the coach. But we got a shooting machine. I think we played Arizona State. And as a part of the deal, they would pay for a shooting machine for us. And we got the shooting machine. I guess that was included. They bought it and sent it to the university. That kind of stuff probably happens all the time. We just don't talk about it.
Right.
Wow.
I know plenty of coaches. I know plenty of basketball coaches. That's how they got the equipment and stuff. They would include that. They would have the school that they're playing to buy equipment and stuff for them. But a lot of the schools have stopped doing that because of the way the auditors were going after it. Because when I tried it one time, they told me no, because when you do an audit, that stuff, if they're paying for it, it's supposed to be on their campus, not on my campus. So, but they'll just give you the money. They'll give you the money. You have to get it yourself. But that was creative. And then the other thing that all of us try to do, we try to get our hotels and our travel, get that taken out so your university doesn't have to pay that money up front to send us on the road. And in a case like mine, where I wasn't getting a dime anyway, I made sure that whatever we had to do, they took care of it first, and then sent the school the remainder.
Mm-hmm. And then we'll go to the timeout. Mo Carter is standing by. When you get all of that $900,000 or $1 million, Willa, what percentage can we get back to the specific sport that is doing the hard leg work? And then I'll shut my mouth. Tell me what is good.
I don't think that.
Oh, here we go. Come on, Willa. Give me a percentage what you think will be good, and no general funds. Come on, I don't want to hear that.
It's going to the athletic department, period. You have budgeted that amount in your budget. So in your $10 million athletic budget, whatever your athletic budget is, X amount of dollars have been budgeted, in terms of revenue that you have guaranteed that you're going to bring in that particular year. So that's going towards all the sports, Carlos, not just men's basketball.
I understand that, but my question was specifically, how much should go back to basketball?
I'm gonna say,
give me 10%, 5.
No,
I'm not gonna say 0, but the things that coach needs to have, I'm going to ensure that he's going to get those things.
So that seems like to me break even.
I'm mindful.
Carlos,
I'm mindful of the fact that Coach.
I'm about to blow my hat. I'm about to lose my hat.
I'm mindful,
about to throw it off.
Mindful of the fact that Coach Pettaway is bringing in $500,000. Okay,
so and we can't get 5% back.
I would expect Coach Pettaway to kind of put in his budget some things that he would like to have, but it's not going to say in specifics that Coach Pettaway's program is going to get $5,000 from McNeese, $8,000 from Duke, $10,000 from UNC, that sort of thing. It's not going to go like that. But I'm gonna try to take care of some of his wants.
Carlos, me and AD Brown, we're gonna have to go to lunch off campus.
We're gonna have to get y'all in the room
we going to lunch off campus, Carlos.
On me.
I start at 40, Carlos, and settle for 30%. But yeah, I will start at 40 and settle for 30%.
Will, it sound like he said less than 5%.
No, he is. He said
2%.
Some equippment.
1.5%.
All I get is a shoe machine to get my head beat in.
What Wheeler Brown is saying, Carlos, is that even though basketball is bringing in $1 million, for example, what Mo Williams is, that is going toward the overall athletic budget.
Yes.
So tennis is going to get some of that.
Yeah.
Soccer is going to get some of that.
I understand that, but I'm saying give me a sample of what would go back to the specific sport. Tennis is not going out and bringing these guarantees in. Is it 1%? Is it under 1%? Is it nothing?
It ain't gonna be a percentage.
Oh my goodness!
I'm ensure that Coach Pettaway gets the things that he needs for his program. Okay, and I'm going to ensure that I'm going to take care of some of the wants that he wants for his program.
Wait a minute.
But
Can they get an expanded recruiting budget?
I'm going to say that we're going to dedicate $50,000 from the Duke game to Coach Pettaway's budget.
Wow. Wow. I got to take a timeout now, Wheeler. I got to take a timeout. Maybe I'm not seeing things clearly.
No, you have a good point. I mean, you are correct, Carlos. You are correct. But I think it's hard to quantify, though. I think there's only one program in this conference, I think, that they get just about everything, and that's Texas Southern. I think TSU, they get all that money. I think it comes most of that, if not all. Maybe Dr. Cavill can answer that for us. I think whatever Johnny Jones brings in, I think that goes back into that program. And they're bringing in probably $800,000 plus. They got a deep staff, and they got a lot of needs, and I think they get probably the bulk of that. But I think for most of us, I think whatever we bring in, and I think the other thing, I know we got to go to break, but a lot of this money is forward funded. Okay, so for example, we're into this budget now, which started July 1st. The guarantee games that we have already on the books is already in the budget. Money spent. So when these guaranteed games get played and the checks get sent 30 days after the contest, that money goes right back into the budget. So you're forward funded, and as the games get played, then that goes right back into the pot. So I think some people think it's the other way around, but you get your budget first, and then when the games are played, that money goes right back to the source where it came from.
And
so Carlos, all I'm saying is
you're hoping that enrollment doesn't go down from fall to spring like it does at most institutions, because if it does, that much less money you're going to get from student fees for the spring. And believe you me, it adds up to quite a penny. You could be $600,000-$700,000 in the hole just based off of enrollment alone from fall to spring. So you got to be mindful somehow of where those dollars are going. It ain't a cookie cutter mold. It ain't cut and dried. You got to be prepared as you roll over to that next semester that a lot of your students not even going to come back. So you're going to be missing X amount of dollars from the budget that you've already spent, okay, before the second semester even starts.
All I was trying to say is, in my opinion, if that sport is doing all of this good, can't we just find a way to reward them?
Thank you, Carlos.
I think I understand from a budgetary standpoint, AD, I get it, but can we? And I got to go to a timeout. I'm going to get punished. I know. Can we give them something back? I want to see more than Texas Southern is the only out of 12 institutions, just one can able to do something back. And if not, 10 years from now, we'll be talking about the same doggone thing. I'll be 70 years old in the F.D. Clark Activity Center with a sign saying, how can I get excited about a non-conference schedule that the basketball coaches got to go out and play all these guarantee games, maybe win one or two, and then I got to get excited because guess what? It's not about that. It's about winning the conference. I want to win more than a conference. That's where I want these programs to be. Football, basketball. Yeah. And we have had some success in basketball. But our goal should be to, I understand, be financially in a better place. And also, we want to be better where we win the gold medal outside of the conference and within the conference. I'm going to take a timeout. Mo, I apologize. We're coming to you.
We'll work for food. We'll work for food.
Oh, my. I'll go to the timeout on that note. We'll be back.
Choice Hotels is a family of brands that helps you get the most for your money so you can be any traveler you want to be.
You could be a free hot breakfast hero at a comfort hotel.
Yes!
That's how you waffle.
Mister, this script got a plot twist at a Radisson hotel.
a business big leaguer. Go for key. Even the ultimate pool float inflator.
With 22 brands and the best value for your money, Choice Hotels has a stay for any you. Book direct at choicehotels.com, where travels come true. Gotta get the corners.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
Troy, you work here? I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield. Never not working.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
I'm looking in the chat room. Dr. Cavill's weighed in on Wheeler. He at least gave a percentage, 20 to 25%. My God, I was thinking I would jump through ropes and hula hoops for 20 to 25%. Going back into the sport that is bringing in all this lucrative money. But anyway, we'll pause that and we'll come back with the basketball talk. Morrell Mo Carter joins us now. He's still hanging on. He's going to be on the broadcast. Jackson State and Grambling State. It appears to be supposed to be the largest crowd in Grambling State's history. Whoa. Jackson State, they're rolling. 19,600 is the seating capacity for Grambling State Stadium. Do we have Mo Carter?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
There we go. Mo, I apologize for being long-winded, but hey, that discussion talk about basketball and those guarantee games. We'll give you a chance to give your opinion on that if you would like to. But last week's ball game, Southern University and Jackson State, you on the broadcast. Kind of what's some of your general thoughts about what happened last Saturday night?
Well, to be honest with you, for Jackson State, it was simple. Come out, punch Southern in the mouth, and then keep running the football down their throat. That's exactly what Jackson did. When I asked Coach Taylor about it earlier this week, he said he wanted to remain balanced, But when he realized that Southern was not, stopping them up front and they were dominating the trenches, he was like, why not just keep handing the ball off to their slew of running backs, as they got J.D. Morton and Herb Mulligan back last week. So they had 5 running backs in the mix that they were just rotating in and out. And then another thing, too, was the Jackson State defense, they were playing lights out. Southern really didn't get their first down until midway through the second quarter. So at that point in time, they were down by multiple scores, and they had to pin their ears back along with having another quarterback in the mix. So honestly, Jackson State jumped out early, dominated the trenches, and that really put Southern in a bad spot. And I think eventually that led to Jackson's just complete dominance of that game. I mean, I know the score may not indicate that how bad it really was dominated, but Jackson State definitely dominated from beginning to end.
Hey, I can't disagree with that assessment. Coach Pettaway, Charles, Wheeler, I cannot disagree with that. And another slow start. And when your offense has issues coming into that game, that's just deadly to get behind. And the challenge will be tonight. Can this offense start fast and get off to a good start? If not, you're going to rely on your defense. And if they have an off night, there you are. And as far as with Southern University, no, the Jackson State and Grambling State, large crowd expected. What are your thoughts on this ball game?
Well, I'm interested to see what that large crowd is going to look like, and for anyone that is saying like, "Oh, it's Grambling, how could they not have ever had large crowds like this?" Well, if you have any piece of an idea when it comes to history, when it comes to Grambling State University, most times Eddie Robinson did not play his big teams or big-time opponents and in Grambling. They would play in Shreveport, or they would play in this place, or play elsewhere. Of course, the Bayou Classic being played down in New Orleans and whatnot. So, I think honestly, this is just one of those situations where, hey, both teams are looking pretty good early on. Grambling fans want to come out and show out for their team. Jackson fans like, hey, we can drive 2 hours and some change right down the interstate on I-20, and you want to, make it a marquee matchup. Now, it is a non-SWAC affair. This is a non-conference game, but honestly, the only thing non-SWAC about this is the fact that it says on the schedule. Both coaches have said they could care less about that situation because at the end of the day, the main goal is getting the W.
I would agree. Just like last week's game, it's a non-conference, but it counts overall. Now, Coach Joseph.
Carlos, get your mic, Carlos.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. I wonder what happens there. I was saying Coach Joseph is known as an offensive guru. Coach Taylor likes to be balanced, be good on both sides of the ball. Who do you give the edge offensively in this ball game between Jackson State and Grambling?
Offensively, right now, I'll give the edge to Jackson because they have so many variables that they can throw at you. I mean, clearly, we saw the dominance just from the rushing attack, rushing for over 200-plus yards against Southern last week. But even when they passed the ball, they look pretty good against Southern's defense. And remember, Southern does not have a bad defensive game plan they had. Jackson State just made them look like a Pee-wee football team last week. So I definitely would give them the edge on that. But that leads to Coach Mickey Joseph telling Santoria Black and I earlier this week, that's why they have to make Jackson State one-dimensional. He feels that if they make Jackson State one-dimensional, that takes them out of their game plan wholeheartedly. And I think, honestly, from somebody that's been around the game for a long, long time, I think it makes perfect sense, in that scenario. So, like I said, I would give Jackson State the upper hand just because of what type of balance they have. And also, they have the ability to play not 1 but 2 quarterbacks and have at least 5 running backs that can touch the ball. So that's really an advantage for Jackson, but it's also up the challenge for Grambling, in which Coach Joseph said they ain't scared in any way, shape, or form.
Now, defense advantage, I would think Jackson State.
Yeah, I would definitely give the edge to Jackson State. I mean, when you think about, Jackson State, they've got those two linebackers in Ashton Taylor and Reed Pulliam. But last week, another guy that came just and played lights out as their defensive end, Josh Nobles. That guy was disrupting play after play after play. And of course, Coach Taylor said he's one of those guys where not a lot of people were talking about him and he don't know why, and he had a chance to go ahead and show it. And even in the defensive backfield, they've got some playmakers, but their defense coordinator told me that their DBs have to play better because nobody came in, and when he had time, he did pick those DBs apart. So clearly, for a guy like Miles Crawley, who definitely is a step ahead of Biden from a production standpoint, he will have his opportunities to do that. That's why Grambling's offensive line just has to find a way to protect them against that front seven of Jackson. But for sure, Jackson's going to send that pressure against Grambling. It's just really up to Miles Crawley and his offensive weapons to really, do something against Jackson State, because heaven forbid they get behind, they get down early. It could be a long night like we saw last week.
And then the intangibles: T.C. Taylor, Coach Mickey Joseph. Any thoughts about that?
So I'll give you two things, Carlos, that stood out to me in our conversation with these coaches earlier in the week. When I asked Coach Taylor just about, the next man up mentality, he was like, well, clearly, you always want to do that or whatever. But he also said this. He was like, because of the way we build our program, we're not only building our program to win games in September, October, and November. He's trying to build a program that will constantly win games in the month of December. Of course, December is the month that the SWAC football championship is hosted, and also the Celebration Bowl. So that really, really hit me in a different way. And I'm like, wow, from a forward-thinking standpoint. As for what Coach Mickey Joseph told me that really, really stood out, he just said this. He was like, yeah, we Grambling. Yes, we are, or whatever. But he said that honestly, as a team, they got to prove to people that they are Grambling and show them why they deserve to wear the G. Now, he did kind of poke some fun at the last coach of what I'm saying. No, I ain't taking no anything or whatever. He's a traditionalist, but at the same time, he was like, I have no problem pulling guys who don't represent the G the way it needs to be represented, and going back to, the days of the forefathers here, there, and everywhere. So, those two statements that those coaches made, I really, really, felt good about the fact that this could be almost as evenly matched of a ball game as we have. And who knows, there's still a long season in front of us, but, if this game plays out quite well, we could be potentially looking at a future edition of the SWAC football championship. I'm not calling it, but I will also say this from just the mindsets of those two coaches. I would not be surprised, but keep in mind, we're only in the first couple weeks of the season. Long season left to go.
On that note, Mo, we appreciate the time. Be safe. Man, I-20 West for you. Be safe, man.
Yes, sir. Will do. I've seen my fair share of I-20 West over these last couple of weeks. For the most part, and and Coach Pettaway can tell you too. Last night was a long night for me because Nebraska, Illinois decided to go in overtime.
Right.
So, Yep. So I'm just sitting here like, okay, I got a football show to do. I got to get home. I got to go to sleep. Get on this road or whatever and stuff. And by the grace of God, I've been appreciating this traveling grace. And at the end of the day, want to try to get out here and do a pretty good job. And of course, we got this game tonight. ESPN Plus should be a really, really good one between the Tigers and the Tigers. And for anyone out there in the listening land wondering, I am worried about my paycheck more than what I'm worried about seeing a game between two of my alma mater's two biggest rivals.
Yeah.
I also know a Tiger will win tonight. I am not worried about that. I am just worried about seeing a good game at the end of the day. And I did leave my blue and gold gear back in Huntsville because I just felt like it would not be fair for me to walk around and probably get echoed walking through that mix.
Hey, Mo, if I was at that game, I'll have on a tie. I know you can't do that, but I can. Godspeed, Mo. We appreciate
All
you.
right, Mo. Take care, guys.
All right, Mo.
Well, it's interesting. Let's do this. Spanning the SWAC last week results, and then we'll get into some quick predictions, and then we'll wrap up the show with more basketball talk. Last week it was Michigan State over Prairie View A&M 40-0. Wheeler, I'm sure you would be happy. You got the check, it cleared. No one really got injured. And now it puts Prairie View A&M in a mode where, hey, we're back in conference play, and we can't be 0-2 after our first two conference games. It was Sanford over Alabama State 12-7. Alabama State, tremendous defense. I was kind of looking at the rankings in the top three. Offensively, of course, they're down to the third or fourth string quarterback. It's tough, but they drop a close one. It was Grambling State over Texas A&M Commerce, 35-28. In overtime, it looked bleak. It looked dark, but Grambling State got it done. Western Michigan put up 59 points over Bethune-Cookman, who put 31 points on the board.
Yep.
They've played a tough schedule. It was, wait a minute, Alabama A&M, 24, Georgetown, Kentucky. 16, Coach Pettaway. Did they start off slow like Southern did offensively?
Yeah, did they? Like they were in molasses, man. Yeah. Georgetown, Kentucky has a good football team, NIA program that finished third in the nation last year. They can play. And a lot of our fans were disappointed that this game was this close. Yeah. But we're happy for the win. Anytime you can get a W, but they were not happy, man.
Yeah. Boy, I can understand that. They're seeking perfection. They're seeking to have a winning season. But they did get the W. Of course, it was Jackson State over Southern University, 33-15. Tennessee State over UAPB, 41-28. Murray State over Mississippi Valley State, 59-8. Wow, that's tough. And that's a fellow FCS opponent. And Alcorn State over Edward Waters, 38-7. Anything stood out to you besides the Jackson State and Southern game last week? The panel.
Well, I was happy that Bethune-Cookman put points on the board, because their offense has been struggling this year, but to put up 31 points against Western Michigan, I thought that was good. That stood out to me.
I like the Grambling come from behind win over Texas A&M Commerce. It kind of looked bleak there, but Mickey Joseph and his team found a way to get it done. And so, that was a standout for me. And then, of course, our game, Edward Waters and Alcorn, we scored some points. I'm kind of like Coach Pettaway. Our fans kind of feel the same way Bulldog fans feel. We got the win over Edward Waters, but too many penalties, discipline penalties, really hurt us. And so we got to clean that up as we're here at McNeese. But those are the two games for me. The Edward Waters, Alcorn, in terms of, we score points, but got to clean up the penalties. And Grambling's come from behind win. That was impressive to me.
Yeah.
Well,
and I was glad that Grambling won. I was glad that Grambling won. We got to start beating those guys. Guys like that. We got to start beating. We got to start beating them. So it was great that Grambling was able to, pull that out.
And Texas A&M Commerce now 0-3. They were winless coming into that ball game. But
Carlos, in order to beat them, though, we got to get them on our schedules. And the only way we can get them on our schedules is stop playing so many money games.
Well, now you said that because see, now if I say that, it's like you pick.
I'm just messing with him. I'm messing with him.
Well, I understand, but I'm glad we got this on record. It's live because everybody thinks that I pick, But this week's games, September 21st, Clark, Atlanta at Bethune-Cookman. That's a 2 p.m. start. Mississippi Valley State at Nicholls State down in the Bayou. Thibodeau, where sugarcane is all you see before you pull up to to that campus. That's a 3 p.m. game. Southern at PVAMU, 6 p.m. ESPN Plus. Alabama A&M at Austin P. Another interesting FCS football game.
Right.
Central Arkansas at UAPB. Another peer school.
Yep.
Jackson State, of course, at Grambling State. FAMU at Troy. Playing up, group of 5. I think it's going to be tough, but the goals for this game would be for FAMU to show improvement, score some points, and then defensively, just let your hair down and go after Troy State. It's going to be tough because, as usual, universal math, 63 can go into 85, one time with a remainder. And so they'll get worn down. But, hey, FAMU, you have nothing to lose. Go in there. Texas Southern at Lamar, there's another one. That's another one. And, of course, Alcorn at McNeese. Charles, I will say this. McNeese defensively going to give you all that you want. Can Alcorn's offense start fast? Well, it sounds familiar. Be consistent. And can they go through the game without playing 2 quarterbacks?
Yes to all of that. I think the key is going to be, and there's a storyline behind this game, by the way. McNeese's defensive coordinator is Tony Pecoraro, and he was Jay Hobson's defensive coordinator at Alcorn. So there's a storyline there to follow, but McNeese's defense is nasty. They shut it down in the 4th quarter. And, I think we're going to have to figure out a way with Xavier Vaughn at quarterback. He's going to get the start. He's our quarterback at this point in time. And we're going to have to find a way to continue the offensive continuity. Our defense can be pretty good when they're not winded. And I think McNeese was down 10 with 7 minutes left against one of their top rivals in the Southland in Stephen F. Austin. And so they got a little wave of momentum going. And McNeese has only lost to one SWAC team in their history. You know what team that was? Alcorn. So, and that has been, and I talked to their beat writer, Jim Gazzolo, we'll be talking at halftime. He said, he brought it up this week. He said, is that bulletin board material for McNeese? And he said, absolutely. It has been brought up. It has been addressed. Now, for us, I asked Cedric Thomas about that as well. He said a lot of these guys don't remember when we played McNeese and won down there. So they just kind of went over their heads. But look, it's a big game for us. Even though we won the game, our fans still, on stilts a little bit in terms of offensive continuity. Defensively, we're fine. So we need to get this win or at least play well before we go into conference play. We open up at Valley next week. That's their first home game with their new turf and scoreboard and all the pomp and circumstance behind that. But we got to figure out a way offensively to get into a rhythm early. Like we didn't do that last week against Everett Waters. We scored our first touchdown in the 2nd quarter with 2 minutes left. And so we would like to get off to a fast start. And I think if we can do that and get McNeese on their heels, I think we could be in for a good game.
Boy, you can tell in the conference, a good bit of teams are struggling offensively. And you mentioned the defense gets tired. And you know why? Because the offense has struggled and they have a lot of snaps on the field. Clark Atlanta at Bethune-Cookman, 2 p.m. I want to say Bethune-Cookman. They're at home. The last time they were at home, I think they scored 2 points. I think they're better offensively. I'm going to go with Bethune-Cookman in this game. But if they lose this one, I want to pick them to win no more the rest of the season.
I got Bethune also.
Bethune should win this game, Carlos. That don't mean they will. I'm going with Bethune if I was putting some money on it.
I'm going with Bethune. Definitely.
Well, the panel says a unanimous decision. Mississippi Valley State at Nicholls State. Nicholls State is a pretty good team. Now they played LSU and gave them a handful. Valley, you give them credit. They get credit, Will, for playing a tough schedule.
Tough FCS schedule.
But Willer, rumor has it that you were consulting them on making that schedule. But I said it can't be true. Can't be true.
That's their
four straight road games.
That's the poor man's guarantee. That's their version of that's their version of guarantee games, Carlos. That's the best they can do because they can't play up, so they got to try to play side to side and get as much money as they can.
And why can't they play up? Because they probably don't give all of their scholarship.
Yeah, because they don't. Yeah.
Right.
Well,
and that would be one of the first things I would rectify if I was the AD there at Valley, because right now they're not able to maximize their revenue sport. It's not being maximized right now. Yeah, so let's make sure that we're always giving the maximum amount over that 3-year period that it takes for the game to count, for the school that you're playing. And then we roll with it from there. Everybody wins in that situation, Carlos. Everybody wins in that situation. Football gets more scholarships, they get more players, that sort of thing. We quote unquote get more revenue, for our programs, which has a trickle-down effect for the non-revenue sports. And we just try to keep it moving from there.
I'm just wondering what, and I just remember many years ago we played James Madison, an FCS team at the time. They've moved up, but the guarantees that you get for playing those teams, like a North Dakota State and James Madison, we got a little over $200,000 for going to James Madison. And we thought we'd get on a charter plane to go to James Madison. We got on a bus for 18 hours.
Wow.
For that game. Now that's back many, many years ago. 200. Now that was a pretty good guarantee for an FCS opponent at the time. So I don't know how much what you're getting. Like Alabama State played Samford. I don't know if that's a home and home. That's a one-way game. When you play a Valdosta State or whatever. I don't know what the guarantees are for playing a Southeast Louisiana. My guess is that they're gonna want to play you home and home so they can make the money at their place, and you got to make your money at your place. I don't know what those guarantees are for North Dakota State or Southeast Missouri State or something like that, but it can't be $700,000.
I can tell you this, Charles. It's no more than maybe 2.25, 230, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the going rate. A&T played at North Dakota State a couple years ago, and I think they got like 225.
They must have paid all their expenses and flew them out there.
No, they didn't. They did not. They did not. They did not.
Who's negotiating these contracts?
But I mean, that's par for the course.
And I wouldn't be going up there. I wouldn't be going up there.
Right. And see, Carlos,
they wanted
just
to
like
see how
today.
they measured up. They were contemplating the move that they've made to the CAA, that sort of thing. They wanted to see, where they would fit in against some of the best in the country. Knowing that we're going to be playing this kind of competition moving forward. So North Dakota State gave them a couple $100,000. They bit and went on up there.
They didn't turn a profit then off that trip if they're paying for.
Oh, heavens no.
Oh, wait a minute. No profit. Wait a minute.
No.
Well,
and I would not have agreed to that, Carlos, just for the record.
And
Carlos,
and you can find a close opponent to see how you stand than North Dakota State.
And Carlos, just like today, Marshall went into Ohio State, $1.9 million. Marshall to play Ohio State, 1.9.
Well,
I think Northern Illinois got 1.5 to beat Notre Dame last week or week before last.
Yep, they did. Yep, they did.
I mean,
that was a short trip for them too, so the big payday.
Yes, it was.
We just re-upped the contract with McNeese. This was announced several months back. So this is 24. So 25 and 26, we'll be playing them again, and it's a home and home deal. Our guarantee is packing Spinks Castle Stadium. I was at the stadium early this morning. They got a pretty good crowd. Looks like it's going to turn out, here in McNeese today. But when you're playing those teams home and home, there's no guarantees. You got to pack your stadium. That's your guarantee. Now, there's some 2-for-1s and 3-for-1s out there that I've been reading about. In other words, we play a Sam Houston State. We go to them. We go to them 3 times. They come to us once, and you get a little guarantee out of it. Ain't much, But
No.
you know
now, Carlos, in basketball,
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it.
And
Carlos,
truth
in
be
basketball,
told,
I did
when
a
it's
2
time
for
for them
1
to
with
come to
Auburn.
you, they're gonna buy you out.
Right. I did a 2 for 1 with Auburn. I went down there twice. They gave me a guarantee. I got $50,000 to go down there, and then they had to give me a home game in Huntsville, but not on my campus. I had to play at the Civic Center.
Oh.
Oh my! We've got 13 minutes left. Coach Pettaway, let me move on.
Go ahead.
But you know what, Coach Pettaway? That seems to be a better contract. That I can kind of go with that. It seems like somebody.
I think it was a near sellout at the Civic Center. We made money.
There you go.
Yep.
There's your guarantee right there.
Yeah.
But 3 for 1.
No, 2 for 2. Yeah, 2 for me.
Well, no,
yeah.
I'm just saying. Charles mentioned 3 for 1 deals, and
I wouldn't do that
because truth be told, Nicholls State comes to Southern University. They used to have a home and home. Southeastern, they could never get it on, and some of the Southern fans could care less if they played those teams. But when your fan base, like the McNeese State game, Southern had a great showing coming there, and this is what they bank on.
Yeah.
McNeese State is not going to sell out their stadium.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how many Alcorn fans are going to travel.
We'll have a few. We'll have some people here. I mean, the Houston's not that far. Baton Rouge is not that far. New Orleans is not that far. And it's about a 4.5 hour trip from the campus. People from Natchez are coming. So we'll have a pretty respectable Braves turnout here.
Well, but to the point, that's what others have told me. We help sell out their stadium. That's why they want us on the schedule.
Yeah.
But back to Nicholls State is coming to Southern University, and they hadn't played in a while. So, I think it goes who has the advantage, who can negotiate the contracts. As far as we don't have to take a back seat to anybody from a attendance perspective. But what we need to do is just be more consistent and get better at winning these games. And then that helps down the line. So we all agree Nicholls State wins this game. Southern University at Prairie View A&M. And boy, that reminds me of the perspective, the Southern fan perspective, what he thinks is going to happen in this ball game. But the panel, Charles, it's not that difficult. You don't have to go back and forth. No, I don't think
difficult. So. It is difficult.
I got Southern
in this game.
Well, Charles, can you make a quick prediction?
I'm going to go with Prairie View. I think Prairie View's desperate. They're hungry. They got to have this one. If they don't win this one, I don't see them winning the West. They're going to come out hungry. They're going to come out determined. And I think Southern's still on their heels. I got Prairie View.
Wheeler?
I got Southern. I'm using Charles's words to describe Southern. They're desperate. They're hungry. Their back is against the wall. They're going in there, rally the troops, and come out of there with a win today.
The great legendary coach, Billy Joe, Coach Joe. Tell you what, if a guy's in his last moments and he's laying on the side, Coach Joe would help him expire.
Yep.
and that's the mentality you have to have. In this game, I maybe could have used a better situation to describe it. But you get Charles, you get my drift.
Yeah, I do. I get it.
Well, hey,
a morbid example.
Yeah, I was in the press box, and they're up by 40 points, 45, and this guy's still saying, "Throw the damn ball! Throw the damn ball!" That's the mentality you have to have. It's us against the world. I'll say my prediction: Alabama A&M at Austin P.
I'm going with my dogs today.
Charles?
I'm going with Austin P. I'm concerned about Coach Maynard. I'm concerned about where the program is right now. You got a new AD and Dr. Bryant who wants to win badly, from what I've been told. People who work with him, and Maynard got to get it going, man. And I'm concerned about Maynard. I love his personality, love him to death, but something's just missing there. I think they go to Austin P, and it's not gonna happen. Got Austin P.
I'm gonna go with Austin P there at home. Typically high flying offense. Alabama and them, they're just not there just yet. I'm gonna stay away from Maynard on the hot seat. It almost sounds like Charles saying he's worried about it.
He's been on the hot seat for a couple minutes now, truth be told. And Connell's my boy.
This guy has 9 lives.
No doubt about that. Connell's my boy. Okay, but that Austin P game is a game I would not have scheduled. I would not have put them on the schedule. So I gotta go with Austin P.
Well, the AD put that one on the schedule, I guess, and
I guess,
maybe before Coach Mr. Bryan got there.
Might have been.
He was. That's our Wheeler. That's our return game.
Okay.
Yeah, that's our return game.
Okay.
All right. So I think it's unanimous. Austin P, Central Arkansas.
No, not unanimous now. I got the dogs now.
I'm sorry, Coach Pettaway.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Alabama and Austin P.
Yeah,
you
they in there.
Okay. So it's not unanimous. Right. I apologize. Central Arkansas at UAPB. I like UAP. No. I like Central Arkansas.
Yes. I do too.
UAPB is still trying to find themselves, and Central Arkansas, that's going to be a little bit too tough.
They got a purple turf, Carlos, over there in Conway. The game's in Conway or in Pine Bluff?
I think it's at UAPB.
At Pine Bluff.
Was it Pine Bluff?
Wow.
Yeah.
Still a beautiful turf. Wait a minute.
It is.
Why are you saying wow?
Yeah. I got Central Arkansas. I mean, I think, the UAPB's coach is coming. I said they would give Tennessee State a run for their money last week, and they did.
Yep.
But I think Coach Hampton's got a little ways to go, but he's building that thing brick by brick, and he's got it in the right direction, I think.
They're in the building mode. Wheeler?
Central Arkansas.
Well, that's unanimous. Jackson State at Grambling State. I believe Jackson State is the best team in the East. That's who I predicted. Well, after the first couple of weeks, I had FAMU coming out of the East, but now I had to rank them. JSU 1, FAMU 2. Sorry about that, Roy and Brian. By the way, Brian, I didn't appreciate that text. Jackson State by 40. During the game, Brian, I remember everything, Brian. In Alabama State third. If Alabama State had maybe body with that defense, things could be a little different. But I'm gonna go with JSU. They are gonna be 2-0 in this, playing the HBCUs in the state of Louisiana.
I'm with JSU also.
Jackson State by 10. Jackson State by 10.
Carlos, I'm gonna clear my throat on this one, okay?
Watch out! Here it comes.
Here it comes.
4, 3,
2, 1. Oh, Grambling, dear Grambling, we love thee, dear old Grambling.
All right.
Coach Dooley will put 45 points on the board against Jackson State. I think not.
Hard to win in the hole, Carlos. It's hard to win in the hole. And I think Grambling with that win last week got a little momentum. They're at home. Dr. Scott said he wants to sell out. I think it's going to be a little short of that, but I think it'll be a really good crowd. Grambling.
Wheeler, you said Jackson State?
Yes.
I said Jackson State, so 3-1.
Get ready. Get ready.
FAMU at Troy. Coach Pettaway?
Troy.
I'll say Troy.
Yeah, Troy State.
I'll say Troy. FAMU hasn't made a believer out of me yet.
Watch out, Will. You're going to get some emails.
That's all right. That's all right. They just haven't made a believer out of me yet. Yeah, I got to go with Troy.
Texas Southern at Lamar, and then Alcorn at McNeese.
Lamar.
Yeah, I'm going to say Lamar.
I'm gonna go with Lamar, but I think Texas Southern gonna push them a little bit. I'll make that same prediction like Tennessee State and team they played last week. Tennessee State UAPB. I think Texas Southern gonna push them, but I do think Lamar's got a little too much.
You're right.
I got Lamar. Go with Lamar.
Yeah,
everybody got Lamar.
Alcorn at McNeese. It's a tough place to play down in the southwestern version of the hole in Louisiana. They have the gambling boats there. They got all of that going on. They feed you well. McNeese State's defense is pretty tough. Their offense is centered around the big tall guy who's a dual threat quarterback.
Yep.
With all of that being said, Alcorn's offensive issues, I just can't ignore. And I think that's going to cost him against a terrific defense. I like McNeese State in this ball game, and I like them by 10 points.
I'm going to go with McNeese also. Yeah. I got McNeese also.
My heart is with Alcorn, but my head says McNeese, and I got to follow my head on this one.
Carlos, you're talking about Clifton McDowell, that quarterback, 6'5", 230. Mm-hmm. He's accounted for 8 touchdowns, 4 rushing, 4 passing. So you got to know where he is at all times. And they got a running back in D'Angelo Durham. Seems like he's been there 10 years. But he's a veteran running back. And so I think our offense is going to have to help our defense. I think, that's going to be the key. If our defense stays on the field, we have 40, 50 snaps in the first game against UAPB in the first half. That can't happen anymore. I think our offense will have to slow this game down. Xavier Vaughn will get the start. He can run the football a little bit, control the clock. I think the Braves have a shot in this one. We're the only team to beat McNeese in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. So let's do it again.
Well, I'll say this. We got under a minute left. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Make sure you like the show. Hit the notification button. Hit the thumbs up. I will say this, Charles, quickly. McNeese, you got to make them throw the football. If you're behind the chains, it's going to be tough. Want to thank our producer, Melanie, producer extraordinaire, and I guess Mo Carter. Until next Saturday, as always, peace and God bless.
Hey, did you know that North Carolina is behind 53-21? James Madison has put 53 on the board in one half.
Not surprised. See you next week.